Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Rachel and I am knitting. And if you're feeling like deja vu, it's because I'm filming 2 videos today. So I filmed this back in January and I did film 2 videos that day. I just took a long time to get this video on the internet. So I'm about to refer to my last video, and it's not actually really my last video. I'm talking about the video where I cranked this sock set into socks, and I'll link that in the top right hand corner if you want to watch that. All right, let's continue. So I look the same as my last video, and I'm holding the skein version of something that you might already have seen as finished socks. So, you know, I didn't have 2 of these. I'm filming these 2 intros at the same time. Okay, so deja vu. It's okay, we'll get through it together. But anyway, today in this video, I'm gonna show you how I weave in my ends on my sock machine as I am cranking. So this eliminates the headache of cranking away on your sock machine and thinking that you finished your sock. All you have to do is Kitchener the toe together if you're doing cuff down, and then you realize, oh no, I still have to weave in my ends. This is especially annoying if you're doing contrast, cuff, heel, and toes on your socks, because that basically triples the amount of ends that you have to weave in. So I've gotten in the habit of weaving them in as I go. So I wanted to walk you through that process as I crank this pair of socks today. So let's head over to the crank station and get this set up. All right, I'm hoping you'll be able to see this easily, but what I've done so far on this sock is I have knit the double knit cuff. So I've knit 30 rows or cranked 30 rows, and now I've hung the cuff, and I just have a few more stitches of this row to finish hanging the cuff. This yarn that you see down here is the waist yarn. So it's this purple violetish yarn, like a dusty violet, that I'm working with. This is my working yarn. So now here's an end of this sock yarn that I want to weave in as I go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish cranking this row until I get to the stitch before the next row. Okay. So now I'm simply going to take this working yarn and thread it into the machine along the spring, along with the other working yarn. I don't need to hold it taut, but it's threaded in there along with the working yarn, and I'm just going to crank so the waist yarn, or the weave, the end that I want to weave in is just going to be knit up along with the working yarn. So I'll show you how that goes now. Now that end has been knit with the working yarn, what I'm going to do next, let me just make sure that it's focused. Yes. What I'm going to do next is with my short pick tool, I'm just going to pick out where that end stops. So I know that it's going to sit on the inside of the sock instead of the outside. And that is one way to weave in the ends. Now, I'm going to, actually, you know what? I just realized in this tutorial, I should have joined my new color when I started that last row. So I'm just gonna do it now. My instinct just then was to pick out the cuff color, but I've just put it back and I'm going to keep working with it in there. And now I'll just show you how I'm going to weave in this dark colored yarn, the contrast color, right away. Okay, so I put the working yarn in and I've wrapped it around the same hook where that working yarn is about to be knit. And I'm going to crank till again that cuff yarn is all worked in, and then I'll pick some of it out so I know that it rests on the inside of the sock. And now I'm going to crank until this main color end is in front of the yarn feeder, and I'll show you how I weave that in. So if you don't want to thread your yarn in with the working yarn and knit it together, a simple solution is to simply wrap it around 2 hooks. You could do 1 hook, 2 hooks, 3 hooks. I like 2 hooks. So I've wrapped it around 2 hooks and then draped it on the inside of the sock, and I'll just crank. Now it didn't knit that together, but it did secure that end 2 stitches over. I'm just gonna wrap it around 1 hook next, crank around. And when I get to the point where this will be worked, I'll just give it a little bit of tension. And again, it didn't knit that together with it, but it did drape it over that hook, that stitch. Give it a little tension. And you can do this as many times as you need to feel comfortable that this is secure. Going the wrong way here. And there, your end is woven in as you go. So I need to crank 50 leg rows, so I'm going to go ahead and do that here, and then I'll show you how to do the foot. So when you're doing a contrast heel, cuff, and toe situation on your sock machine, initially I would have taken this working yarn out and woven it in after I was done with the sock, but now I just leave it in there and I drape the new working yarn in. I thread it through the machine so I know it's where it needs to go. When it's time to make my way back, I just make sure that both yarns catch, and then I knit as normal. So again, now this main color has been worked in with the contrast heel color. So I pulled out the ends a little bit so it will sit in there. Gonna grab my heel forks for the weight that's needed. And now let me crank the toe and I'll show you how to weave in these ends, or this end, when I get to the end of the toe. Okay, so now that I've gotten to this wrap and turn where I have the yarn end, I'm now going to bring it back and just knit it along with this stitch once I get to it. So I'm putting it through the yarn feeder. I'm making sure that both strands catch, cranking away, and once it's all the way knit in or cranked in, I'm going to pick out a few stitches so the yarn end sits on the inside of the sock. And finish the toe up. Okay, now it is time to continue on with the main color. And then I'll just show you one more time when I get to the toe, just so you can get all the practice you need or want in while watching the video. But again, I have some ends to weave in. So I'll show you here how I would do this with 2 colors that need to be woven in at the same time. So let's say you don't want to knit this contrast color. This is particularly helpful in this situation when you're just coming off of the heel, and when you knit this main color row, you don't necessarily want 2 colors to be marled together because that might be quite noticeable. So in this situation, instead of working this contrast thread through on the following row along with the main color, I pull it out of the yarn feeder and let it hang on the inside of the sock just for now. And I crank until I get back to this beginning of round. Oops, dropped a stitch here. Let me pick that up. Okay, so I've now reached the point where I have these 2 ends. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go in opposite directions, and I'm going to wrap them around 1 hook each. knit to secure, and continue on. I should have reset that. Okay, so I need 65 and I just did one, so I'll knit to 64. Okay, so again, I'm back here. I wrap around in the relevant direction, knit or crank around to secure it, and just continue that process. So with every row, these ends get a little bit further from one another. That's okay, that's what's supposed to be happening. Okay, so we'll do it a couple more times here. As you continue on, it's harder to hold them at the same time to keep tension. It's okay, you can just do them one by one. And I'd say that's pretty good. I'll call that secure, so I'm gonna snip off these ends with a little bit of extra. And now I can continue cranking the rest of the foot rows. All right, now we're going back to the contrast color, so knitting the toe, and I'll just show you one more time how I do this. So I'm gonna snip my main color here and knit the rest of the row. Now going to add my contrast color. Now I cut this main color a little short, but that's okay. We'll just need to have a little bit more intentional yarn management to get this knit up together with this new main color. Make sure that they both catch. There we go. All right, so we got that knit in together. Pull the end out. Now we're at the final end to weave in, so I'm just gonna go ahead and put this through the yarn feeder and knit it together with this final row. And then again, pulling it out by a stitch or two. And there you have it. Every single end is woven in as we go along. It's so much faster than doing it after the fact, and I'll show you the finished object next. Ooh, what do you think? Do you like them? I'm really happy with how these socks turned out, and I've already gotten a lot of wear out of them. What do you think? Can you see where I wove in the ends? I can't, honestly. I also made a pair of shorties, by the way. But I'm really happy with this method. It works really well for me. I hope that it's helpful for you if you are a machine knitter or have a circular sock machine, and you too have been plagued and disappointed in yourself for not weaving in the ends as you go, maybe because you just didn't know how to do it. So this is how I do it. It works really well for me, and I hope that you'll try it. Let me know how it goes for you if you do try it, and happy cranking!